Boxing truth here. Alright, back on the mic, back on the grind. Let's talk about this fight. For the undisputed junior welterweight showdown between Terence Crawford and Julius Indongo. A type of fight that doesn't happen very often. It's for all the marbles. It's the first time in over a decade, which shows you why it's very difficult to get these type of showdowns to occur. Just too many obstacles. But this is a unique situation where Indongo, he's in a position where he's looking to make the biggest fights possible now that he's in this position. Being an unheralded guy who was cherry-picked on 2 occasions against other champions, and now Indongo upset the odds on 2 occasions, and now he's able to get into this position, and now he's positioned himself into this tremendous opportunity for himself, and it will be one hell of an accomplishment, one hell of a feat if Indongo is somehow able to become undisputed within 8 months. I mean, this is a type of accomplishment that has taken fighters in the past years of their careers, because there's just different circumstances in every division. Perhaps they're dealing with a star fighter that can fight whoever he wants, or maybe they're just not able to get other champions to fight them for whatever reason. But Indongo is in a unique situation where he's been cherry-picked on 2 occasions. Once by Trianowski, iced him within 90 seconds in Russia. Then he was cherry-picked again by Ricky Burns. Eddie Hearn and Ricky Burns were trying to laugh all the way to the bank. They thought they got the easiest unification they could get, and they thought it was going to be easy work because they didn't think much of Indongo. Indongo is unheralded. There isn't much footage on him besides his past 2 fights, and you really can't get much from the Trianowski fight. It's barely a minute long. You can't really tell much from that fight. So Burns went into that fight blind. Didn't really know much of Indongo, his style. Couldn't really get much of a read from the footage he saw of him, because there isn't much footage of Indongo out there. So he went in there blind, and he pretty much was sadly mistaken in thinking this will be the easiest unification of his life. Burns got his ass whooped, got dominated, got rocked on multiple occasions, and was ultimately schooled and outclassed. Indongo gave him a boxing lesson, whooped his ass, and relieved him of his strap in front of his hometown fans. Now Indongo is gonna have to do it again for the 3rd straight time. In his 3rd straight fight, he has to go to someone's backyard and he has to relieve them of their strap in front of their hometown or home state fans. And he's going into the backyard of Terence Crawford, or at least his home state, in Nebraska. He's going to face another hostile crowd. There's barely going to be any fan support for him. But this scenario, this type of situation is not going to face Indongo. He's been through it before. He's been successful on 2 occasions, so this shouldn't be any different. He'll be ready. He'll be ready to fight. And Crawford, Indongo's opponent, is the guy who is an American media darling. He's getting a lot of praise from the American media. They're hyping him so bad. They want him to be the best fighter in the world, pound for pound. A lot of these media fanboys already rate him that as high as that. Top 5, even pound for pound number 1. Even though Crawford's resume is truly lacking in that department in order to get him that type of recognition. Beating up on smaller fighters, lightweights, gatekeepers, wastemen like John Molina shouldn't get you a top 5 rating pound for pound. Crawford, he's been matched really good by top-ranked matchmakers. They put him in the guys that he could easily dispose, like Felix Diaz, guys with no power, guys that are much shorter. And Crawford uses this style against shorter opponents where he's in the pocket, he makes his opponents come to him, and he capitalizes on his opponent's mistakes, tries to step back and counter. But it's going to be interesting to see what type of style Crawford's going to use against Indongo, because that step back counter style, I don't think is going to be all that effective with a guy that's longer, taller, and rangier than himself. Indongo brings attributes not many 140 pounders are used to seeing. He's very tall, very lanky, and he fights that way. He fights from a distance. So this is going to be a battle of the undefeateds, a battle of unified champions, and it's going to be a battle of range and distance and counter punching. But I'm really hoping for Crawford that he doesn't use the postal playbook in this fight. Is he going to run away? Is he going to use his movement to frustrate Indongo, make Indongo come to him? Because if he does that, it's going to take the life out of the fight. It's going to make it a very anticlimactic, undisputed showdown between the two. So I'm hoping Crawford will be more entertaining in this fight, will be aggressive, will try to make a statement, because he's a heavily favored guy to beat Indongo tomorrow night. So he's getting all this push from the media that he's pound for pound, that he's elite. Well, you need to show me something, Terence Crawford. You need to show me that you're elite. You need to show me a statement-making performance against Indongo, because according to the betting odds, Indongo doesn't have a prayer. He doesn't have a chance. I mean, this guy is as heavy as a 22-1 underdog, I believe, or a 19-1 underdog. So the odds are heavily stacked against Julius Indongo. So when it comes to the betting odds, and when it comes to the media praise for Crawford shouldn't have a problem with Julius Indongo. He should make easy work, according to the betting odds and all Crawford fanboys that rate him so high. So this shouldn't be a much difficult task, but we'll see come tomorrow night. Top ranks matchmakers, they know what they're doing. They're the best matchmakers in the world, but even they can be wrong on occasion. Even they could be wrong at times. Not everybody can get every matchup right. Not every matchmaker could predict every fight. And I believe this is one of those fights. The odds indicate that Crawford will make easy work, but I don't think it's going to be easy work. I think it's going to be Crawford's toughest fight as a professional. I think it's going to be his most difficult fight of his career. It will be a life and death struggle for Terence Crawford against Julius Indongo. And he may have to get a gift decision in order to continue his journey in his career as a very hyped up American fighter. But it'll be interesting to see how Crawford fights Indongo. Indongo's going to do what he does. He's going to fight at range. He's going to fight at distance. He's going to throw a lot of punches. He's going to counter if Crawford decides to be aggressive. He's going to stick him to the jab, to the body, also the left hand to the body. He'll go to the body. He'll counter him if Crawford decides to be aggressive. And Indongo has pretty good power in his left hand. He has a very strong overhand left hand, and he's been displaying some good power as of late in his past 4 fights. Was able to rock Ricky Burns on multiple occasions, but Burns, he's a durable guy. He's got a good chin. He's never been stopped. But he got his ass whooped against Indongo. So I see a very tough competitive fight. But I just hope Indongo will get a fair shake. Unlike Victor Postal, where the scorecards were predetermined. We all know who Bob Arum wanted to win that fight, and you can see the evidence. Crawford has fought multiple times since, and Postal, he's still on the shelf, still hasn't fought since the Crawford fight. So it's pretty easy to see that Crawford was supposed to win all along in that Postal fight. It was a much closer fight, from what I saw at least, but the scorecards didn't indicate that. But hopefully Indongo gets a fair shake in Nebraska. Well, he'll be fighting in an American hyped up fighter. It might be a tougher task compared to the two prior opponents of Indongo, like against Burns and Tryanowski. But Julius Indongo, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to shock the world. He won't shock me because I don't rate Crawford that highly. Crawford he's a flawed fighter. Defensively, not that good. Very hittable. Hasn't really fought the punchers that I need to see it in terms of how good his chin is. Ndongo's not the biggest puncher in the world, but he's got respectable power. In his left hand, at least. So we'll see how good Terence Crawford is against Julius Indongo. I think Indongo is going to be his most difficult opponent. His most dangerous opponent. And I think Indongo is going to pull it off in a shock, split decision victory. And Indongo will do it again. He will defy the odds once again for the third straight time, as he will relieve Terence Crawford of his two straps in his home state and become the undisputed champion at 140 pounds. He will be the king of Namibia. Crawford looks shook in his pick, knows he's fighting a dangerous opponent, knows he's finally fighting a guy his size. Indongo will pull off the upset, defy the odds for the third straight time, and he will be the undisputed junior welterweight champion of the world. And he'll be truly recognized as a conqueror in Alexandria. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.